If I offered you two lives, which one would you choose? In the first life, you earn $55,000 a year. In the second, you earn $180,000 a year. Almost everyone picks the second one. Now let me tell you how both lives end. The person earning $55,000 retires at 63, owns a paid-off home, has enough investments to travel every year, and never worries about paying bills again. The person earning $180,000 is still working at 68. Not because he has to, but because he can't imagine stopping. His mortgage isn't finished, his lifestyle became expensive, and his savings never caught up with his income. The strange part is that neither person made a catastrophic financial mistake. There was no gambling, no failed business, no luxury yachts, and no million-dollar divorce. Just thousands of tiny decisions that looked perfectly reasonable on the day they were made. One streaming subscription, one larger apartment, one nicer vacation, and one slightly newer car. Individually, they were invisible, but together, they quietly rewrote the ending of his life. Most people believe money changes your future. It does, but not in the way you think. Your future changes long before your paycheck does. It changes the moment your habits become stronger than your intentions. Because wealth isn't built on payday. It's built on ordinary Tuesdays. Today we're going to meet three people. None of them are famous. None of them started rich. None of them discovered a secret investment. Yet, one of them accidentally became wealthy. Another earned nearly 3 times as much and somehow never felt rich. By the end of this story, you probably won't look at your own salary the same way again. Only one of them actually is. Meet Ethan. He's 31 years old, works as a warehouse supervisor, and earns about $58,000 a year. Nothing extraordinary. He rents a modest apartment, drives a 12-year-old Honda, and his friends joke that he still owns the same coffee table from college. They're right! Ethan replaces things only when they stop working. Not because he's cheap, but because he'd rather buy freedom later than impress strangers today. Now, meet Olivia. She's 28, works as a marketing manager, and earns around $96,000 a year. She works hard, she's talented, but she believes she's behind. Every time she opens Instagram, someone else seems to be vacationing in Greece, buying a luxury SUV, or announcing another promotion. She tells herself the same sentence almost every month. When I make just a little more money, then she'll finally relax. Then comes Marcus. He's 38, works as a software architect, and earns nearly $175,000 a year. His parents think he's rich, his coworkers think he's rich, his neighbors definitely think he's rich. Marcus isn't pretending. He genuinely believed each financial upgrade made sense. A safer SUV, a larger house, private school, country club membership, a new kitchen, better furniture, a luxury watch to celebrate his promotion. Every decision had a reason. Every purchase had logic. None of them felt irresponsible. Yet every month, his bank account somehow looked exactly the same. Have you ever noticed something strange? People rarely become poor overnight, but they also rarely become wealthy overnight. Both usually happen quietly, like water dripping into 2 different buckets. One bucket fills, the other leaks. The difference isn't dramatic enough to notice until years have passed. The invisible scoreboard. Here's the question almost everyone asks. How much money do I need? It's the wrong question. Imagine walking into a marathon halfway through. You see runners everywhere. Some are sprinting, some are walking, and some are exhausted. You ask, who's winning? Nobody can answer because you don't know where anyone started. Money works exactly the same way. A person earning $50,000 who saves consistently may be moving faster than someone earning $200,000 who spends everything. Income tells you how fast you're running. It tells you nothing about whether you're actually getting closer to the finish line. Economists have known something interesting for years. Most people don't compare themselves with billionaires. They compare themselves with neighbors, coworkers, friends, and people from high school. That's why a raise often feels amazing for about 3 months. Then it becomes normal. Psychologists even have a name for this: hedonic adaptation. What once felt like a luxury gradually becomes the new normal, leading people to seek the next upgrade. Marcus experienced this perfectly. When he bought his first luxury car, he walked outside just to admire it. 6 months later, it was simply his car. The excitement disappeared. The monthly payment stayed. That's when something dangerous happened. His happiness reset. His expenses didn't. A small decision that changed everything. Ethan made one decision that almost nobody noticed. Every time he received a raise, he pretended it never happened. Half of every raise disappeared automatically into investments before he ever saw it. The first year, it felt insignificant. The second year, still insignificant. By the 5th year, something changed. Not in his bank account, but in his behavior. Saving had stopped feeling like discipline. It became automatic. He no longer argued with himself every payday. He simply lived on what remained. Most people think discipline creates wealth. Sometimes. But systems usually beat discipline because discipline gets tired. Systems don't. Imagine 2 identical people. One decides every month whether to save. The other never has to decide because it's automatic. 5 years later, which person do you think saved more? Not necessarily the more motivated one. Usually, it's the one who removed the decision entirely. And that realization changes everything. Because maybe building wealth isn't about becoming a different person. Maybe it's about designing a life where the right choice becomes the easiest choice. The uncomfortable truth is that income isn't usually where wealth disappears. It disappears through tiny leaks that repeat every month. Not because people are irresponsible, but because the leaks are disguised as rewards. A better phone, a slightly bigger apartment, coffee every morning, food delivery twice a week, a streaming service you'll probably forget to cancel, a car that's only 2 years newer. None of these decisions are financial disasters. That's exactly why they're dangerous, because no single purchase feels important enough to question. Marcus never noticed the leaks. Remember Marcus, the software architect making nearly $175,000 a year? People looked at his salary and assumed he had everything figured out. They were wrong. One afternoon, his company announced annual raises. His salary increased by almost $12,000. His coworkers celebrated, and Marcus celebrated too. He told himself, "This is finally the raise I've been waiting for." 3 months later, he couldn't explain where it went. Not because he wasted it, but because life immediately expanded to fit it. The family upgraded to a larger house. Property taxes increased, insurance increased, electricity increased. Furniture suddenly looked too old for the new place. The garage suddenly looked empty. The new neighborhood had nicer restaurants. His children joined more activities. Nothing looked extravagant. Everything looked reasonable. That's the trap. Lifestyle inflation doesn't arrive wearing a villain's costume. It arrives dressed as success. And once it settles in, it quietly becomes your new normal. Most people spend their lives chasing bigger paychecks. Very few spend time building a bigger margin between what they earn and what they need. That margin quietly becomes confidence. Confidence becomes freedom. Freedom becomes peace. The surprising truth is that your financial future isn't decided by one brilliant investment or one lucky break. It's decided by your discipline. It's shaped by hundreds of ordinary decisions that nobody applauds. The coffee you didn't need, the raise you partially invested, the purchase you delayed, and the habit you repeated. None of those moments feel life-changing, but together, they become the story of your life. So don't ask yourself, how much money do I make? Ask a better question. Am I buying a lifestyle or am I buying freedom? Because one of those disappears the moment your paycheck stops. The other stays with you for the rest of your life.